Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we'll be continuing our possible Mortal Servant series for the Chaos Gods. We've already spoken about Khorne's bloodthirsty warriors, Slaanesha's depraved skirmishers, and Nurgle's postulant wall of flesh. But now we look towards Tzeentch, the changer of ways, and his deceptive armies. As always with this series, bear in mind that god-specific units were not very common in Warhammer Fantasy, so we'll obviously be diving into the Age of Sigmar, which did receive a bunch of new miniatures dedicated to Tzeentch. So without further ado, let's begin. From what we know of Tzeentch's lore, he and his followers focus around illusion and deception. It is because of this we are not to expect his forces to be very heavily armed. Instead, while armor should be worn, it should be at a minimum. This is to allow the warriors to have quicker movement across the battlefield. It is because of this the first unit we'll be checking out are the Krick Acolytes. These are a melee spellcaster hybrid unit, but perfectly represent what we'd expect from Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch. The aesthetic is very much there. Light armor, big shields, and a weapon to defend themselves with. Now in Age of Sigmar, despite the different weapon loadouts, they seem to be represented the same way, where both the sword and the halberd are listed as the same cursed blade. However, in Total War Warhammer, this could mean that we might see multiple variants, sword and board, then halberd and board, and possibly the same two variants just without the shield. That leads up to a total of 4 new units. As they are established spellcasters, it could be possible that a bound spell with maybe 1 or 2 uses might be available here. I don't imagine them being too overly powerful. They won't match up to basic Chaos Warriors, especially due to the massive amount of lack of armor, but if they do get implemented, I believe that more or less they should match up with mid to high tier Chaos Marauders. The next possible unit would be that of the Xangors. These are beastmen touched by the blessings of Tzeentch. They can be listed as either sword and board or dual wielding units. We can also see that the champion itself is able to use a great weapon. While this does mean that there could be 3 different variants, I doubt that we will see all 3 of them. Bear in mind that Tzeentch has a rather large amount of Chaos Touch Beastmen, and I don't think we will see a full complete roster just for them. Especially because Slaanesh, which is the only other Chaos God to receive a Beastman update in Age of Sigmar, only has 1 specific variant. It's fine for one god to have more than others, but I doubt that they'll introduce, say, 9 different variants for one and only 1 for another. In my honest opinion, I would say that the sword and board variant might be best, as that allows the dual-wielding weapons to be used by Xangors and the great weapons to be used by Pestigors. That being said, we do have another type of Zangor, that of the Zangor Skyfires. Flying bow ranged units. Fast and extremely mobile, I'm assuming that this unit would act in a very similar way as to the Wood Elf Eagle Riders. Lowish model count, and you'll be able to shoot the enemy, but it won't do that much damage. Instead, it's likely that you'd use this as a more flanking maneuvering unit. And of course, a flying unit that moves quite quickly would also be the perfect war machine hunter. Another unit, of course, would be the Zangor Enlightened, the other variant of this unit. Instead of having bows, they would only have spears. However, it's very likely that the Skyfires and the Enlightened would be merged in role. There's not really a need for 2 specific units that would do the exact same thing. The only difference here would be the ranged capabilities. The Orgroid Faumaturge, I'm not too sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, could possibly be introduced as a monstrous unit for the armies of Tzeentch. What we are known is that they are powerful in melee, but also excel in magical combat. This could possibly help the Tzeentchian armies, as of course most of their units would be considered rather squishy, so having a monster that's able to hold off on its own will give them a little bit of an edge. Now, before we move on to possible lords and heroes, we're going to look at another Age of Sigmar system, that of Warhammer Warcry, as there are some possible units that could be introduced. The first being the Corvus Cabal, dual-wielding cultist-like troops, which obviously have a massive Tzeentchian theme here. They're supposed to be fast, but they won't hit very hard. They are warriors which favour deception and ambush attacks, so I believe that it could be possible that we'd see them as dual-wielding units. Quick skirmishes to go around the battlefield, nothing too impressive but useful nonetheless. A spear variant would also work rather well, but we've also got to look at another possible warband, that of the Cypherlords, which admittedly do have more of a traditional Tzeentchian look. Again, dual-wielding but also able to use spears. These are another type of unit which focus around illusion and deception. The weapons are less varied here, dual-wielding and a spear halberd type of weapon. If it's one or the other, I would prefer the Cypherlords, as both of them would have kinda similar roles on the battlefield if we're going on a Warhammer fantasy sense. However, of course, Warcry does have a lot of different options, so a few different variants of both could indeed be possible. Like I said, Tzeentch did get a bit of love in Age of Sigmar, but it was mostly focused around their beastmen and not the basic mortal followers. But with all that being said, we've discussed all the possible units. We're going to move on to Lords and Heroes now, but you will also notice that the same issue stands here. Again, there are not many rosters. The first, of course, would be the Zangor Shaman, which, as you can imagine, is a Zangor that is a spellcaster. I'm assuming that this could be turned into either a Lord or a Hero variant. This would be a spellcaster with the Lore of Tzeentch and possibly Lore of Heavens. The great benefit this character would have is that of the Disc of Tzeentch, which would allow it to fly across the battlefield. But bear in mind that that mount choice is going to be expected a lot, especially through Tzeentch's roster. I can further confirm this when we look at the next Lord or Hero choice, which would be the Fate Master. As you can see, another Disc of Tzeentch. Now, what is different about this is at least this is a human, and it has more of a Tzeentchian feel rather than that of Chaos Undivided. The robes and general aesthetics just fit extremely well, and is what I personally always imagined a Lord of Tzeentch to look like. The heavy armoured look is very cool, of course, and it's very likely that we will see reskin Lords and Heroes to that regard. But I always liked the idea of a spellcaster lord or that worshipping a spellcasting god to have a aesthetic in this sense more than anything else. As I had said earlier, there's not really much in regards to Tzeentch, and it's a bit of a shame. It could be possible that new units might be created. As we've seen recently, the Slaaneshi forces have recently been given a rather large update in Age of Sigmar. And to the best of my recollection, please bear in mind that I don't play a lot of Age of Sigmar, the Tzeentchian forces haven't really received much in recent times. That's of course very dependent on what Creative Assembly and Games Workshop may have been planning for the future. If anything, it may be that the Tzeentchian forces might depend more on Xangors than basic human mortals. As obviously, when we looked at the Xangors, they did have a lot more possibilities. That, or we'll just see a lot of units being reskinned from Undivided to Tzeentch. Both do work well, but if it was up to me, I'd say that the Xangors would probably be the best option. If this is going for monogod, then in that case, it should be as unique as possible. Just having a multitude of reskins won't make the faction unique. But with all that being said, what do you think about all the possible units that we've discussed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.